Welcome to Securing America with me, Frank Gaffney, the program that's a kind of owner's manual for protecting the country we love against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to God's glory and that of His kingdom. I'm very pleased to say that when we talk about the job of protecting our country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, we have the opportunity to work with some really remarkable people. Many of them are associated with our Center for Security Policy. Others participate in various coalition efforts in which we are able to engage, folks like you in major initiatives that can help us survive various onslaughts from those enemies outside of the United States and those that are seeking to subvert us from within. A man who has devoted his professional life and his post military service, distinguished military service as well, to the job of protecting our country is our first guest. A great friend, colleague at the Center for Security Policy, where he is a senior fellow, and a man who, during his time in the United States Army, rose through the ranks to that of colonel, with a special operations background, notably in psychological warfare. He has also been a specialist on the civilian side in the Office of the Secretary of Defense, focusing on such really critical issues as cybersecurity. His name is Colonel John Mills, United States Army retired. We're always delighted to have him with us. John, welcome back to Securing America.
Oh, thank you, Frank. Always an honor to be with you.
Thank you. Let me start with a question or two about China. John, you're a member of our Committee on the Present Danger of China, a great contributor to it. And in particular, I think you've got a fix on what the Chinese Communist Party under Xi Jinping is all about. Give us just a quick précis as to the agenda of Xi Jinping as it relates specifically to the United States, but, well, to the free world more generally.
Well, Frank, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is a mortal threat to the United States of America. They intend to take America out, peacefully or otherwise, and essentially assume their self-appointed position as center of the universe.
Mm.
This is real. This is not abstract. This is not conjecture. This is just read their writings and their behavior. She is about replacing us, and now that he has brought on Russia as the far junior lackey or partner, they are about taking out America and conducting various forms of warfare to undermine us and replace us as essentially the dominant nation state in the world.
And this is not simply an abstract aspiration, John, is it? They've actually been hard at this for decades. Just quickly, give us a sense of how they've been pursuing that in what they call unrestricted warfare.
Well, first and foremost, this struggle and this war is about economic dominance. And the center of gravity is really who gets to play, who encumbers the seat as the reserve currency of the world. That is very important. Many Americans say, "Okay, so what? Big deal. Who cares what the foreign the reserve currency is?" Well, it is a big deal, and we
It
should never
is.
ever surrender that,
Yeah.
ever. It's essentially having the highest credit rating and receiving essentially preferred status
Mhm.
versus I mean, it's somebody having an 870 credit rating versus somebody who has a 540 credit rating.
Right.
And it's very important. And I use
And
this
John, let me just ask you about one aspect of this, because again, we talk a lot about the reserve currency crisis that is now looming. I think it's fair to say that it's not just a question of your credit worthiness in a financial sense, that people want to transact business in your currency because it is well the one that is most widely accepted around the world. It's also, as I understand it, John, usually something that is a function of your military might as well, and the confidence that people have you'll be able to back your currency, and for that matter them, if they're dealing with you, um, as a result of just old-fashioned military power. Is that your understanding as well? And is the problem that we're having with the reserve currency status of the United States in part because, in the face of the threats we're seeing from China, our power is widely regarded as waning?
Well, yes, and we have an occupant of the White House. It's not just the current regime in the White House. This goes back to the days of Carter and the mentality of giving away. That for some reason, if we give away, people will like us more. Is It's very junior high school mentality. But Carter wanted to give away the Panama Canal.
Right.
Obama was hell bent on giving away American perceived control of the internet. Some technologists would argue that, but through ICANN, we essentially controlled the internet. Okay. Obama was hell bent and successfully released ICANN, which is now some amorphous international body. And we've essentially given away the root keys of the internet. Biden wants to continue this trend line and give away the dollar as the reserve currency. What is going through their heads? This is like the British elite who wanted to manage decline of the
Mm,
empire.
right.
We're just going
That's
to manage
exactly what it
decline our
is.
way into the grave. I mean,
Yeah.
what? No, I don't want to manage the decline of anything. I want growth. I want
M-
optimism.
Me too. And peace through strength is another way of thinking of it, of course. And John, I think to answer your question, rhetorical though it may have been, what we are witnessing and have really in those previous presidencies as well is a wrecking operation against our country, and it's redounding to the benefit of the Chinese Communist Party. It's bad enough that it's harmful to us, but it seems as you look at everything Joe Biden has been doing, the Chinese CCP is in fact if not the principal beneficiary of it. Which brings me to Taiwan, John. Our colleague Stephen Bryan, Dr. Stephen Bryan at the Center for Security Policy, one of our senior fellows, has recently hosted a very important report on Taiwan, and I wanted to ask you. We'll carry over through a quick break, but just take a minute on this side of it to discuss the lessons of Ukraine for arming a country at risk of being invaded before that happens, rather than after.
Well, yes, I think in many ways Taiwan is in a much better position. I think they're much better organized, trained, and equipped, but I think there's still a lot to do. They also have this beautiful 100 miles of ocean between them, just like Churchill would comment on the 25 miles between England and Pas-de-Calais
Mhm.
in France. Uh, so there's some differences, but
Occupied by the Nazis at the time.
yes, yes.
Right.
But this
John, hold the
is
thought. We have to take this break, and I don't want to cut short an important answer to, I think, a question that ought to be on all of our minds. Are we doing enough for Taiwan today to prevent what we've just witnessed playing out as a result of Russia's aggression against Ukraine? Uh, John Mills is one of the most thoughtful guys I know to answer that question, and will do so on the other side of this very short break. More with Colonel John Mills, United States Army retired, right after this.